live stream. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to talk about how to use would to talk about the future. So I've said the future here for this lesson because we're going to cover many different ways to use would to imagine the future, to imagine the present. Also, we're going to talk about using it to make requests and offers and invitations and to express preferences. Finally, we're also going to talk about the differences between would and will in conditional sentences, something that I often see learners struggle with. We have so much to do today, so we're going to start in about 2 minutes. While we wait for other people to join, though, if you are in the chat now, please make sure to send a message, say hello to everyone in the chat, and also please make sure to like this video, hit the like button, and share the video so other people can find today's lesson. First announcement, this banner here shows this, as we have every week, free PDF cheat sheets from the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube, or above the video if you're watching on Facebook. These are a few I will show you later. You can use these vocabulary words and expressions with today's grammar points for sure. So this is a nice way to practice, I think. So check those out if you have not already. They are free. You just need to log in with your EnglishClass101.com account. And then the other point, I think Facebook is getting up now. Is Facebook okay? Is it rolling? Oh, Facebook is a little bit interesting today. But in the meantime, we'll wait like another minute or so while we get Facebook rolling. And then I wanted to mention, I'll show you, this picture will appear in a minute. Our control desk is fixing some things. But I mention every once in a while our weekly Q&A series. The weekly Q&A series is a chance for you to send your English and culture related questions to me, really. So this series is called Ask Alicia, and this is a screenshot from Ask Alicia. So these are questions that come from you, and I try to answer them in just a few short minutes, really. So these are for like your small little questions, not such big grammar questions always. But if you want to participate in this, if you want to send a question to this, you can find the link to the official submission page at EnglishClass101.com/ask-Alicia. All right, we're working on a technical issue right now on our Facebook stream, so hopefully we'll be able to get rolling in just a minute. I'm not sure. There's a small Facebook problem. Apologies. But if you missed it, today we're talking about how to use would to talk about the future. So I guess for now, Facebook's being a little bit tricky today, yeah? So, very mysterious. So I'm going to start off with our first point for today. Our first item for today's lesson is conditionals. Conditionals. And I'm going to talk about conditionals with questions. So a conditional is a sentence that has that if something something, then something something pattern, or you can switch it as well. So I want to start today's lesson by talking about these conditionals. So first I want to talk about conditionals with statements. So we'll zoom in a little bit. Our control desk is busy trying to fix some things right now. So conditionals with statements, first of all. When we make a conditional with a statement, we have a pattern like if our subject were something something, and then we follow it with subject would or wouldn't plus the infinitive form of the verb. So for today's lesson, I'm going to focus on the second conditional. So maybe some of you know like first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, and so on. For today's lesson, I'm going to focus on the second conditional, which uses would to make a positive statement and wouldn't to make a negative statement. So when you make a second conditional type sentence, you're describing an unreal situation in the present, so something that is not true now, And it's something that's unlikely. So that means there's a low chance of that thing happening. So something that's unreal and that is unlikely is a second conditional statement. Also, another point here is if you use this conditional sentence, one big question, this says were. If subject were something, something. If subject were something, something. Yeah, hi YouTube, I just saw the chat for the first time. We're having some trouble with Facebook still. If subject were. So when you make a second conditional sentence using would, make sure you use were here. Lots of learners ask, like, what's the difference between if I was and if I were? The difference, I've talked about a few times in Ask Alicia before. The difference is if I was is a simple past tense statement. So we want to make a statement about the past. So for example, if I was noisy last night, I apologize. That means I don't know if I was noisy or not, but if I was, I apologize. So that means there's a chance in the past that thing happened. However, when you use if I were or if subject were, it's referring to the present situation now. It's an unreal situation now in the present. So if I were a teacher, I would teach math, for example. That sentence means I am not a teacher. It is not like a possible situation now, but in that situation, I would teach math. So those sentences, if I were and if I was, are actually often like mixed up by native speakers. But if you want to make sure to always be correct, when you're making a second conditional sentence and you're using this if I were or if he were pattern, make sure to use were. So let's take a look at some example sentences that use this. I'll keep reading because our control desk is still busy trying to fix the Facebook issue. So I will read our example sentences with this point. First, if I were you, I would study every day. If I were you, I would study every day. So here, as I've talked about, we use this were here. So if I were you, this is correct for a second conditional pattern. If I were you, so I'm not you, I would study every day. So after our would, we follow with the infinitive form of the verb. If I were you, I would study every day. Let's look at another example. If he had more free time, he wouldn't be so stressed out. If he had more free time, he wouldn't be so stressed out. So this second conditional pattern uses a different verb. When you're using the second conditional pattern and you're not using this were here, use the past tense, simple past tense form of the verb. So in this case, if he had. So had is the simple past tense form of have. If he had more free time, so more meaning more than he does now, if he had more free time, he wouldn't. So wouldn't is the reduced form of would not. He wouldn't be so stressed out. He wouldn't be so stressed out. So this is a negative sentence here. So in this case, this means this person in the sentence does not have very much time and therefore now is stressed out. So again, we're imagining a present unreal situation. So if he had more free time, he wouldn't be so stressed out. Okay, one more example here. If we won the lottery, we would buy a house. If we won the lottery, we would buy a house. So lottery is a game of chance. You can buy a ticket in the USA and there will be numbers that are announced for that ticket. If your ticket's numbers match the winning numbers, you can win money or other prizes. So here, won is my verb. I use the simple past tense form. So if subject here is we, if we won the lottery, so past tense, if we won the lottery in this unlikely present situation, we would buy a house. So this part expresses the planned action. If this is true, this is what we want to do. We would buy a house. So this is second conditional statements. Second conditional statement. So there are some examples coming in on YouTube. If I had a Lamborghini, I would be very happy. Very nice, Ruska. Very nice. Good one. Good one. Other ones, I don't see yet any other ones. Someone repeated, if he had more time, he wouldn't be so stressed out. Yeah, nice one. Pasta says, if I won the lottery, I would donate that amount to the stream. Wow, that's super nice. That's cool. Great, great, great. Okay, so let's continue on to the next point. This is another pattern for statements that uses would and wouldn't, and that might be a little bit challenging to understand. So this is a subject with would or wouldn't. Be, so we include the verb be here, and then an adjective, So remember, an adjective is a word that describes a noun. So like beautiful, or expensive, or fun, or exciting. These are adjectives. So let's look at a couple of examples to explain this point. So let's imagine a conversation between two people. So person A says, why don't we go to Hawaii next month? Why don't we go to Hawaii next month? And person B says, that would be expensive. That would be expensive. So here in part B, person B's statement, that thing, this idea, like going to Hawaii, is what that refers to. That idea would be expensive. So it's like saying, if we did that, it would be expensive. You can imagine this is like a response to the suggestion. So this pattern is something we often use to respond to ideas, to suggestions, to advice, and so on. Okay, so the next example here is, do you want to go window shopping, from person A? Do you want to go window shopping? And again, person B responds with that would idea. So that would be fun. That would be fun. So again, that refers to the previous sentence. In this case, a suggestion. Do you want to go window shopping? An invitation. So that would, that activity would be, and then my adjective is fun. That would be fun. Okay, so this is how we use it for this pattern. I'll finish up here quickly with questions. When we make questions with second conditional, we use that if pattern. So if-then pattern I talked about before. So here, we use a WH question, so that means who, what, where, when, and so on, plus would, then our subject, your extra information, and then we have some kind of if statement. So the basic pattern, we've talked about this a few times before, is when you're making these kinds of sentences and these kinds of questions, we use an if clause plus a main clause. So your if clause is the part of the sentence that includes the word if. So we practice this up here. If I were you, if he had more free time, if we won the lottery. These parts are if clauses. They're the parts of the sentence that use if. And then there's the main clause. So the main clause has this information in it, the result. There's some kind of result in the main clause. So we can use both if clause and main clause in either position. You can change the position, just depends on the focus of your sentence. Also, please keep in mind, one point, many learners miss this. Make sure your would is in the main clause. We do not use this in the if clause. So this is one key point here. Do not use would, don't use modal verbs in general in the if clause. Please be careful of that. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples and then we'll take a quick break. So, if you won the lottery, what would you buy? If you won the lottery, what would you buy? So here's my if clause. If you won the lottery, my if clause is here in this case. So I've started that here. What would you buy? So what is my WH question word? Would follows it. My subject is you. And then my verb here. What would you buy? What would you buy? One more. Where would you live? If you could live anywhere. So here I've swapped it again. My WH question is first. Where would you live if you could live anywhere? If you could live anywhere. So this could means if it were possible to live anywhere. If it were possible to live anywhere. So one more small point here for those of you who like to focus on your punctuation. This point, it's very hard to see right now, but there's a comma after this if clause here. So when your sentence begins with an if clause, follow the if clause with a comma. So it's nice to include a comma after an if clause. So an if clause can be what's called an introductory clause. The if clause is introducing some kind of information that we need to understand the main clause. So if clause, comma, main clause. However, if you use this pattern, main clause first plus if clause, as I've done down here, you don't need to put a comma after the main clause. So only if your if clause is at the beginning of the sentence. So another point for those of you interested in punctuation. Okie dokie. So that is part 1 for today's lesson. And I think we're still having a little bit of Facebook trouble, but I think YouTube is okay, which is good. And Instagram is okay too. Hi there. So we'll take one quick break. I think I will be able to show on the second camera. Okay, cool. So if you have not already, please make sure to check out the link below the video on YouTube. And I guess there's no Facebook for today. Instagram, if you're watching, please check the link on our YouTube channel on this live lesson. So I've chosen a couple of PDFs I don't usually show. This one, oops, sorry, that's not the one I wanted to show you. I've picked out a few I thought would be useful for today's grammar. First is talking online. On the back of this are some expressions you can use for conversation online. So on the, in the comment section, for example, some of you write these sorts of comments. These are a few expressions you can use online or in emails with your coworkers or with friends, family, and so on. So these might be some good vocabulary words or good situations to practice today's grammar in. Another one is planning your time. So today's grammar point is great for making schedules. Really good for making schedules. So this is some vocabulary for like days, weeks, months of the year, and so on. So you can have a look at these. And of course, other stuff as well. There's a lot more stuff from the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube. Okay, cool. So I think we'll continue on in today's lesson. So I think Facebook is not going to be able to join us this week. Oh no, Facebook, our Facebook friends. Okay. We'll continue on though to part 2 for today's lesson. So part 2 for today's lesson. I'll continue on to invitations, offers, and requests and preferences. There's so much to talk about here. So if you have not already, please do make sure to like and share the video so that other learners can find today's lesson. Okay, so let's go to this part. I want to start part 2 today by talking about invitations, offers, and requests. I'm going to cover patterns you can use to make each of these kinds of sentences. So the first pattern is would you? Would you? So would you begins all of these types of sentence. So let's take a look. First, let's look at some request patterns. So a request, it's when you want someone to do something for you, or you want an object, you want an item, or you want a service or something. So, for example, would you come over here, please? Would you come over here, please? So that's a request for someone to join you, maybe from another part of the room. Would you come over here, please? Yes, many of you ask, what's the difference between like could and would in this situation? They have the same meaning, really, like they accomplish the same goal. Could you come over here, please? And would you come over here, please? They have the same goal, really. So the same level of politeness as well. Could expresses possibility, whereas would is more like a gentle way like to push someone to do something. Could is more like just, is it possible for you to come over here? For a request like this, you can choose whichever you prefer. Would you come over here, please? Is a request. Another request. Would you please close the window? Would you please close the window? So here, you'll notice please can take different positions in your requests. So would you come over here, please, is great. Please at the end of the question. Or would you please close the window? Here, please comes before the verb. Both are totally fine. You can choose whichever you prefer. So like, would you please come over here? Great. It's up to you to choose the sentence you like. So they mean the same thing. They have the same nuance. It's just a personal preference thing. Okay, then this next one is an offer. An offer. Would you like dessert? Would you like dessert? So this is a very common pattern. This would you like pattern is common for making offers. So would you like something to eat? Would you like some dessert? Would you like a new iPad? So whatever. If you want to make an offer of some kind, you can use this would you like with the noun phrase that you're offering. Would you like this thing? So this is a very easy to remember offer pattern. Please note this would you like begins the offer. Similarly then, when we make invitations, we also begin this with would you like, would you like. However, we make the invitations by including a verb in the infinitive form here. Would you like to come to the exhibition? So this is a very polite invitation to do something. Would you like to come to the exhibition? It's like a very gentle and very friendly way to invite someone to something. Would you like to come to the exhibition? So again, making an offer here, we're using would you like noun phrase. Would you like this thing? When we're making this invitation, we're saying would you like infinitive verb. Would you like to come? Would you like to go? Would you like to eat? Would you like to watch? And so on. So offers and invitations have similar patterns, but they have slightly different applications. So Soo-young Jang, sorry if I said that incorrectly, on the YouTube chat says, would you like movie? So would you like a movie? That means you are offering someone a movie. Like maybe you have a DVD. Like, would you like this movie? So you're offering someone a movie in that case. If you want to invite someone to do something with you, would you like to watch a movie? So that's an invitation to do something. So keep in mind, would you like a movie? You're giving someone something. Would you like to watch a movie? Is an invitation to do something. So please be careful. Noun or infinitive verb makes a difference here. Okay, onward. Let's go to expressing preferences. Part B for this point. Part B, expressing preferences. I have two patterns I want to talk about here with would. They are subject and would like. Subject, would like. So yes, please keep in mind this pattern uses would like as we practiced here. But in these sentences, in these questions rather, they begin. So would you begins the sentence. Would you like begins the sentence. Here, when you're expressing your preferences, like the thing you like or the thing you don't like, we have subject first and then would like. So, for example, I would like a salad, please. This is a very useful expression for a restaurant or a cafe. I would like noun phrase, please. I would like a salad, please. I would like a beer, please. I would like a steak, please. So this is something you can use to express what you want, your preference. I want this thing. Also, with a different subject, she would like you to prepare a presentation. She would like you to prepare a presentation. This sentence means the she in this situation, this woman, she wants, in other words, she wants you. She would like you to prepare a presentation. So this is like a very polite, indirect way to say, please prepare a presentation. She wants you to prepare a presentation. So this is a pattern you can use to express a preference, something you desire, something you want. Finally here is this pattern, subject would rather. Subject would rather. So we use this when we want to kind of compare two options. Let's look at an example. Person A suggests, why don't we go to a French place for dinner? Why don't we go to a French place for dinner? And person B says, I would rather go to an Italian place. I would rather go to an Italian place means I prefer an Italian place instead of the French place that you recommended. I would rather go to an Italian place. So this would rather means instead of this, more than the thing you suggested. So would rather is used to reply to suggestions. I would rather do something else. I would rather eat something else. So would rather is like a comparison, a way to compare two options. Okie dokie. Then time is almost running. Oh man, we're almost out of time. So I'll go quickly to the last point for today's lesson. Last point for today's lesson, number 3, is about using would and will. I covered the second conditional in the beginning of today's lesson. So I want to talk about the differences between these two. So key here is these 2 example sentences. These example sentences are both correct, totally correct, and totally fine to use, but they have different meanings. Let's discuss. Sentence 1 here is, if I lose my job, I'll find a new one. If I lose my job, I'll find a new one. Sentence 2, if I lost my job, I would find a new one. If I lost my job, I would find a new one. So sentence 2 here uses the second conditional that we started today's lesson by talking about. Yeah, this is the second conditional. So remember, the second conditional expresses an unreal situation in the present, something that is not true now, and there's a low chance of it happening. Here, however, number 1, if I lose my job, I'll find a new one. This sentence means it's an actual present situation. This is a real possible situation. So in sentence number 1, maybe the speaker has a job review, or there was a problem at the company, or the company has to cut money, has to cut budgets or something. The speaker says, oh, if I lose my job, I'll find a new one. So this sounds like it's something that's real. It's something that's possible. There's a chance the speaker will lose their job. So they're talking about their plans. Sentence 2, however, is an unreal present situation. So there's no danger of the speaker losing their job now. They just want to imagine the situation. So if I lost my job, I would find a new one. So I have no danger of losing my job. So again, both of these sentences are totally 100% correct, but the use of the sentence really matters. So this first sentence expresses there's a chance of that happening right now. So this is something to practice, a good grammar reminder, I think, to practice for this point. So if you want to practice this, you can send a comment live, or if you're watching this later, with what would you do if you found a wallet full of money on the street? What would you do if you found a wallet full of money on the street? So you can use the earlier pattern from part 1 today to make this sentence. So, for example, if I found a wallet full of money on the street, I would take the wallet to the police. So you can use a would pattern with an if would pattern to express your plan for the situation. And in this case, using a would pattern is best because it's not a real present situation now. There's probably a low chance we're going to find a wallet on the street. So that's a good one to practice with. But Hector says, what about using would to express something we used to do in the past? Yes, we have a live stream about that, actually. Today we're talking about would for the future. So yes, we do have a live stream about using would and used to for the past. You can check that on the English Class 101 YouTube channel if you want. Mary says, if I found a wallet, I would turn it over. Turn it over means give it to someone. Give someone something that does not belong to you. I would turn it over to the police, maybe. Alrighty, we are out of time. So I'll wrap up today's lesson. I hope that this was helpful. I know it was a lot of grammar and there was a lot to cover here, but I hope that it helps you use would to talk about the future and to make offers and requests and things. So we'll end there, but we will be back next week. Next week, November 14th. Wow, this year is going so quickly. Also, there's been a time change due to daylight saving, so now it is 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday evening, or other times, depending on your time in the world. Our topic for next week will be how to describe people. How to describe people. If you watched our live stream 2 things. I'm going to talk about the differences between active voice and passive voice. I'm going to share with you how to change a really, really simple way, I hope, that you can change from active voice to passive voice. And then I'm going to talk about when you should use these. So a lot of people have asked me questions about these two grammar points. So today I hope will be for everybody. As you join, please make sure to like and share the video so that other people can find today's lesson. Hit the thumbs up. And as always, there is free stuff for you from the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube, or above the video if you are watching on Facebook. There are free PDFs to download. These are a few of them. There's a big variety of topics that you can choose from. So take a look. Whatever you think seems good for you, you can grab that, download that for free. So take a look. Find the link above or below the video. If you're watching on Instagram, check YouTube or Facebook. All right. Hey, Leah. Hello, Elton. I see some people joining in the YouTube chat. Pasta Kim as well. Welcome back. Other announcement is about, if you have not seen it yet, the new culture video that is on our YouTube channel, on the English Class 101 YouTube channel. If you have not checked it out yet, please take a look. So, wait, are we on the Japanese pod? Okay. So on the YouTube channel is a series of videos about culture. So not just about language, but also culture points. So this is the newest one in that series. It's about the cost of living. We looked at the cost of living in New York City. So have a look at that if you have not seen it yet. Cool. Okay, good. Some people are joining now. I think Facebook is up and YouTube is up. Fantastic. Hi, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us again this week. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for saying hi. On YouTube, Fatin, Oni, Naman, Anish, Eric, Fatin. Again, sorry, Byron, Gertrude. Hello. And on Facebook, Martin, Linda. It's going very fast. Lena, Antoine, David, Fawad. Hi, everybody. Wow, there's a lot of people on Facebook. Welcome, welcome. As you join, don't forget to like and share the video too so others can find it. I think we're good on this graphic, yeah? Yeah, all right. So I'll recap. Today's topic is active voice versus passive voice. Active voice versus passive voice. Is the graphic? There we go, cool. Okay, now we can see everything again. So, again, 3 points to today's lesson. I'm going to share the video and then I am going to begin. So as we go through today's lesson, please feel free to send your questions, your example sentences in the chat. And I will try to check in real time. I will try to check everything live. If I miss yours, I'm very sorry, but I hope that I can get to as many as possible. Okay, share the video and off we go. Alrighty, so let's get started with the difference between active and passive. Let's start over here. First, what is active voice? What is passive voice? Let's talk about what these topics, what these things even are. I'm going to slow down a little bit too. So first, active voice. What is active voice? So active voice is something, it's like a way of speaking or a way of writing. You can think of it kind of like a style that you use. So in active voice sentences, the focus of the sentence is the person or the thing doing the action. We want to focus on like the person doing something. That's our focus for the sentence, or the thing that is doing something. So the actor, so in this case, actor does not mean like famous person in a movie. It means the person or the thing doing the action. That is the subject of the sentence. So maybe you remember in English word order, we have subject, verb, object. So subject, verb, object is the order in which the parts of the sentence are organized. So let's take a look at a couple of basic examples of this. Active voice sentences are, for example, I wrote an email. So very simple sentence. Who wrote the email? I did. I am the actor. I'm the person doing something. My verb is wrote, past tense of write. And then my object is an email. I wrote an email. This is a simple active voice sentence. Second example here, he called some friends. He called some friends. Email was written. Second, some friends were called. Some friends were called. So again, we don't know who did the action. We don't want to focus on that. We want to focus on like the result, or we want to focus on the thing that received the action. So how do we make passive voice? To make a passive voice expression, you can use, this is a basic pattern. I'm going to show you how to change between the two in part 2 of today's lesson. So here, to make a passive voice expression, use your subject plus the verb to be plus the past participle form of a verb. So subject in this case is an email in this example sentence. My be verb is was because I'm talking about a past situation. And the past participle form of write is written. So an email was written. An email was written. The other example here, this is a plural subject. So plural subject means there's more than one of something. It's plural. So some friends, my subject. Be, here I'm using were because plural subject, some friends. And then call becomes called in the past participle verb form. So this is the difference between active voice and passive voice in terms of grammar, in terms of the what we want to communicate. So some examples, I saw some examples coming in. Andrew says the decorations for the party were created, yes, by Alicia. So if you want to, you can attach the person, the actor at the end of the sentence. Don't have to. Sick Eraser says the slipper was nibbled. Good. So maybe like your dog or like your cat or somebody nibbled on a slipper. That's funny. Some examples on Facebook. Someone says there's a problem in focusing. I don't know. I don't see any examples on Facebook yet, so come on, Facebook. I don't see anything. Lots of people saying hello. Some active sentences. Bori says she does her homework every night, so we're going to practice in part 2 today how to change your active voice sentence into a passive sentence. So I hope you can practice that. I don't see much in terms of example sentences. You're good. I don't see much in terms of example sentences. Alrighty. Cool. So, please get ready to practice then changing active to passive in part 2 of today's lesson. We'll take a quick break and then we'll continue on to that. So I hope that part 2 is very helpful for many people today. All right. I showed you this a little bit earlier. I showed you at the beginning of today's lesson the 3 things that you can find from the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube or above the video if you're watching on Facebook. These are free PDFs. Oh, okay, we'll do this. So these are for free. You can find these from the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube or above the video if you are watching on Facebook. Oops, this one's backwards, sorry. This is also backwards. I picked them up backwards. Sorry, I picked them up backwards. Here's another one. Cooking in English is another topic. You can find all of these from the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube or above the video if you're watching on Facebook. So take a look. There are lots of different topics you can choose from here. You can find something, print it out, put it on your phone to practice with throughout the week. So have a look. If you're watching on Instagram, check it out on YouTube or Facebook. And sorry, I cannot see your comments live. Alrighty, let's continue to part 2 of today's lesson. Someone says, I shared Alicia's live stream with my sister. Woohoo, thanks for sharing. Yeah, if you haven't already, do please make sure to like and share this video so that other people can find today's lesson. I have shared it. Someone else has just shared it. Thank you. So let's get to part 2. Part 2 of today's lesson, if you're just joining. Today's topic is active voice versus passive voice. Next I'm going to share, I hope, something that's helpful. Many of you have asked me about this. How to convert, meaning how to change your active sentence to a passive sentence. So I will move over here. Can I? Okay. I'll probably move in between. Maybe it's better to go over here. Okay, I'll do this. So, changing active to passive. Let's talk about this. I explained in part 1 today that when we make an active voice sentence, we have this subject, verb, object pattern, right? So I talked about this, like I wrote an email or whatever. We're with a very basic sentence. So, for example, if my subject is she mailed a letter, I have that same pattern, yeah? Subject, verb, past tense, object, a letter, the thing receiving the action. Another example, we ate all of the cookies. So again, subject, my verb, past tense, all of the cookies, receives this action. So how do we change this? These sentences here are active voice sentences, but if we want to change an active voice sentence to a passive voice sentence, how do we do that? First of all, you need to make sure that you have these parts of your sentence. So sometimes I see your comments and you write to me like, how do I make this passive? But there's no object in your sentence. You need that object. So to do this, first take your object. So take the object of the sentence, in this case, a letter or all of the cookies in my example sentences. Move these then in your passive sentence to the subject position. So here we're making a passive voice sentence down here. So move the object of your sentence into the subject position here. So now my subject becomes a letter or all of the cookies. So that's step 1. 2, when we make passive voice sentences, I explained in part 1 today that the next part is be. We use a to be verb. So your be verb should be the same tense as the verb in the active voice sentence. So in this case, these are both past tense, mailed and ate. These are both past tense verbs. So be in this sentence should also be past tense. So that means was or were. But make sure your past tense verb matches your subject. By that I mean, if your subject is singular, one, a letter, your verb should be was, singular, a letter was. If your subject is plural, as in all of the cookies were eaten in this case. So make sure your be verb A matches the tense of your active voice sentence, and B matches the number of your subject. Is it singular or is it plural? Finally then, the verb that's used here, take the verb, so again, same verb here. This verb needs to be made into the past participle verb form. So in this case, mailed, in past tense, we have no change. So the verb to mail is mailed in both past tense and in past participle form. With ate, however, we change it to eaten. So the verb eat is eaten in past participle form. So please do this 3-step process to convert your active voice to passive voice. Another note here that is a little bit hard to see, sorry, it's just tiny writing. This says also get. Some of you have asked me about this. Using get in the position of be. You may sometimes see people use get, or past tense got, and we do this instead of be. We choose this instead of be for like unexpected things, for unexpected situations, like some kind of surprise. It's often for negative things, but not always. So I'll talk about some examples of this. But yes, this says get here, also get. So you may see get used in this position. So to read our passive voice sentences, a letter was mailed. A letter was mailed. Or all of the cookies were eaten. So let's try to convert these sentences. Maybe you've already seen the answers. First one. Let's try, my dog is chasing me around the park. My dog is chasing me around the park. So how do we change this sentence from active to passive? This is an active voice sentence. My dog is chasing me. So first, we have to find subject, verb, and object here, yeah? My subject is my dog in this case. And then my verb, here I have is chasing. So we're using progressive or continuous form. Then me. So this is the object. So in other words, me, this is the object of the sentence. This is important to keep in mind. Then I have this extra information around the park. So let's focus on this part. My dog is chasing me. This part matches this part here. So to convert, I need to take my object of my verb, in this case me, and put it in the subject position. So remember, when you are the subject of a sentence, and you're talking about yourself, you need to use I. You cannot use me here. I. Then my verb, in this case, in my active sentence, is chasing right here. This is progressive, so I need to keep progressive, and it's in present progressive, is chasing. So I am being. So I've used am, not is, to match my subject. I am, not I is. I am. And then progressive verb. I am being. And then the verb here is chase, to chase. So chased is the past participle form of the verb. Then I can keep this extra information. I am being chased around the park. So that sounds kind of scary, but you can use this if you want to make like a funny sentence, or if you want to, I don't know, maybe scare someone for some reason. So this is how we change an active voice sentence to a passive voice sentence. All right, let's try one more example. We could hear our neighbor's terrible music all night. So my active voice sentence, we could hear our neighbor's terrible music all night. So again, same process. Where's my subject? Where's my verb? Where's my object here? So here my subject is we. My verb, I have here as well. And I also have this word could. So let's keep could there as well. And then our neighbors. So we have, our neighbor's terrible music, actually, sorry. Our neighbor's terrible music. This is a long object. So this part, is the object of the sentence. We move it to the subject position. So our neighbor's terrible music could be heard. So again, I'm keeping that could, and my be comes before the main verb here. So think of could as kind of like helping us. It's helping us in some way. It's like a helping verb here. So could be heard. So here becomes heard in past participle form. Could be heard all night, my extra information. So this is how we identify. We find the different parts of the sentence and we move them around in this way to change from active to passive. So sometimes I see your example sentences and like there's no object in your sentence. So make sure you have all of these parts to make it easier to create your passive sentence. Some examples are coming in. Kanwaljit, hello, says this software can be updated by this setup. So also make sure, like just another point, you don't have to put this in part 3. You don't have to include the person or the thing doing the action. Like in some cases you want to remove that or you want to drop it. Okay. On Facebook, everyone's just saying hello. So if you have some examples, Facebook, please feel free to send them. I am watching. I'm looking for your example sentences. Oh, there's one from Danny. By the time my mother arrived, her cookies had been eaten by my sister. Very nice. Very nice. Good example sentence. Thanks, Danny. All right. Let's go to a break. And then we'll go to part 3 for today. So I will show you again the PDFs that I showed you earlier, but this time I will pick them up so that they are not backwards so that you can see them all. Hooray. So if you missed it or if I did not show you very well earlier, these are some examples of the free stuff that you can find from the link below the video if you are watching on YouTube, or above the video if you are watching on Facebook. There are many different topics. So on these, you'll find here, I'll show you this one. So on these PDFs, there's, yes, some vocabulary words on the front. I know it's a little bit bright here. But on the back, there's a list of expressions. So it's like questions, answers, full phrases. So not just vocabulary words. So pick up a couple of these maybe to use for your studies. These are really good if you're a beginner as well. So take a look and find some topics that are interesting for you. There are lots of different things here. You can find these from the link below the video on YouTube, above the video, on Facebook, on Instagram. Sorry, can't see you right now, but check YouTube or Facebook. All right, let's go to the last part for today's lesson then. If you're just joining, today's topic is active voice versus passive voice. Active voice versus passive voice. So let's go to part 3. If you have not already, please do make sure to like and share the video so others can find today's lesson. All right, let's go to part 3. In part 3, I'm going to talk about when you should use active and when you should use passive. So first, let's talk about active voice. So when should you use active voice? Use active voice when you want to focus on the person or the thing doing the action. So for example, you want the responsibility or you want the credit for something. You want to be very clear who did this thing. For example, I bought you a present. I bought you a present. Why do we want to use active here? Like if I give you a present, I want you to know it's from me. So I use active here. I bought you a present. This is much more natural than passive voice. Second, our manager gave everyone overtime. Our manager gave everyone overtime. So in this sentence, the topic is overtime, yes, but like we want to use our manager because it's like, who gave us the overtime? If you don't know, overtime means extra work. So you have more work to do. You're working overtime, over the time that you are scheduled. So in this sentence, who gave us overtime? Our manager. Maybe I feel upset or disappointed. I want my coworkers to know our manager gave us overtime. So in this case, we want to show the responsibility for a situation. Another example, he forgot my car keys. So in this case, I want to be clear. Who forgot them? He did. So when you want to show focus, when you want the person or the thing acting to be the focus of the sentence, use active voice. In contrast then, on the other hand, passive voice. When should you use passive voice? This is a little bit trickier. Some people say it sounds more polite or it sounds more professional to use passive voice. In some cases, yes, because passive voice can be used to be less direct. But let's talk generally about a couple of different things. If you want to focus on the person or the thing receiving the action. Focus on the person or the thing receiving the action. So let's talk why. Why do you want to focus on the person or the thing receiving something? A couple of reasons. First, the actor is unknown. So that means the person doing the action is unknown. We don't know the person who did the action. Or we're trying to hide something. Like we don't want someone to know something. There's a secret. Or we want to focus on a result. We want to focus on the outcome, the end of something. So let's look at a couple of examples of this. First, the classic example of theft. My car was stolen. So we use passive voice in a sentence like this because of this reason. We don't know the actor. We don't know the person who stole the car. My car was stolen. Who stole the car? I don't know. So we use passive here. In another example, the research data was faked. So research data was faked. Faked means someone created it. It's not real. So the research data was faked. This is something you might use to try to hide something. So if you discover your teammates created fake data, but you don't want them to get in trouble, you might try to avoid trouble with a sentence like this. The research data was faked. Or maybe you don't know who faked it. Another example, we are being watched. So this, maybe you've heard this in action movies or suspense movies, I'm being watched. Actually, I am being watched right now by all of you. But in that case, it's this is the focus situation, or the person being watched is the focus. We are being watched. By who? We don't know. So we can use passive voice to describe that. Another one. Our team was helped a lot. So you might use this if you want to focus on the result. So the result in this situation is the help the speaker's team received. So if you want to focus on something like this, it can be better to use passive voice to do that. So regarding the issue of passive voice sounding more professional, the reason people say that is because it can be less direct. So, for example, you don't have to say, you do this. What's a good example I got recently? About an interview. So if you don't know the person who's going to do the interview, you might ask a question like, will the interview be held next week? Instead of, are you going to hold the interview next week? So if you use passive voice, you don't have to include the person acting. This can be really helpful if you don't know the person who's going to do the action. So for that reason, it can sound more professional and more polite. But passive voice, just because it's passive, is not more polite or less polite than active. Passive voice and active voice are tools that you can use to make your writing more, have more depth, to make your meaning have a little more depth to it. So that is it for today. I'm looking for your examples. Some active examples are coming in. Edgar says, my boss gave me overtime. Yes, that is an active voice sentence. Mahmoud says, this painting was drawn by Leonardo da Vinci. Yes, so if you want to focus on the painting as opposed to da Vinci, yes, great. Nice passive one. Some other examples. On Facebook, hello everybody on Facebook. Our teacher is being followed. Okay, so 1 point, be careful about the verb follow. So in that case, your grammar, great. Our teacher is being followed. To follow someone online and to follow someone in person can sometimes, like the meaning can be a little bit ambiguous, meaning like it can sound like there are two different meanings. We're not sure which one. So maybe our teacher is being watched, or this lesson is being watched is good. Maybe a little clearer. All right. I don't see any other examples yet. So, actually, I'm on time today. Oh my gosh, that never happens. Amazing. So I'll end there for today's lesson. Wow, there are so many people watching. Again, amazing. I'll end there for today. I hope that this was helpful for you. Oh, I'll step off screen so you can take a screenshot. But oops, sorry, my hand was in there. You can take a screenshot for your notes if you like. But I feel like are maybe difficult to understand quickly, or that I've noticed many learners make mistakes with. So I hope that these 20 are useful for you. We have a lot to cover in today's lesson. So please send your example sentences in the chat. I will try to check live. And of course, please, you can make some notes too. Also, I'll try to maybe step off screen one time so people can take a screenshot too. All right, but as you join, please make sure to hit the like button and share the video so that other learners can find today's lesson. And as always, please make sure to check the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook for free vocabulary PDFs about a topic of your interest. You can check out some of these. I'll show you later. That's the first announcement for this week. Second announcement, I want to share, I haven't talked about this in a while, but our monthly review series. This is a picture from a monthly review video that we recorded before. If you don't know about the monthly review is a every month series where you can send us an audio or a video message talking about your country or introducing yourself or sharing about why you're learning English. So this is actually from the point in the video where I listen or watch to your messages and respond to them, and then that goes into our monthly video. So if you want to join our monthly review next month, we're going to record soon. Please check the monthly review video on the English Class 101 YouTube. That would be awesome. Awesome. So send us your audio and video messages. It would be super, super cool. Okay, that's all my announcements. I see many people are in the chat now. Hello on YouTube, Rendell, Julius, Sedifraz, Daniel, Gertrudis, Rodion, Abel, Mada, Bito. Hello, everybody. And on Facebook as well. Sokpan, Bensu, Amir, Paulo, Lavib, Muntasir, Edris, Javier. Hi, lots of people. Hello, everybody. Thanks very much for joining. I'm going to get started very quickly today because we have a lot to cover. Someone asked on YouTube about the monthly review, the picture I just mentioned. Please go to the English Class 101 YouTube channel, search for monthly review. You can find the video there. There's a link in the description to send your audio or video message, so please check that out. Okay, so let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about 20 high-frequency phrasal verbs. I'm going to introduce each verb. I'm going to explain the definition or the meaning. Sometimes there are two, and share some example sentences. So please feel free to send your example sentences as well. Let's get started though, because we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to share the lesson and then I'm going to begin. Okay, great. Let's get it going. First, let's start on this part of the board. You'll notice in today's lesson, a lot of the phrasal verbs will use up. I think this is the most common one, the most common preposition for today. So please note that up and out are some very, very commonly confused ones. So let's get started with pick up. Pick up. Pick up is our first phrasal verb. To pick up, and I think, we'll zoom in. It's hard to see. There's a lot today. Pick up, to pick up. There are two meanings for to pick up. First, to pick up can mean to take something from a low place and move it to a high place. So we use this a lot with the phone. For example, to pick up the phone, right? So the phone is in a lower place. You take it from the low place and move it to the high place. To pick up. So as in pick up the phone, or please pick up the phone. The second meaning for pick up is to collect someone or to collect something. So this is very commonly used in a sentence like this. Can you pick me up from the airport? Can you pick me up from the airport? So this means please collect me from the airport. So I arrive at the airport. I want you to collect me, like in your car or some other mode of transportation. So there are two ways to use pick up. Pick up. Second phrasal verb is come back. So I want to talk about come back and go back together, these two. They share very similar meanings, but what's important here with come back and go back is the perspective of the speaker. Perspective means the point of view of the speaker. So let's look at come back first. To come back means to return to a place. Yes, to return to a place, but from the point of view of a person who remains in that place. So for example, let's say I'm here in front of the camera and our control desk person suddenly leaves. And I'm like, oh no, like I'm in a live lesson. No, please come back. Please come back. I need your help. Please don't go anywhere. Please come back. I need your help. I say come back because I am still here. I don't say go back. I don't say go back. I'm remaining. I'm still in this place. So I say please come back. Please don't go away. However, go back is from the perspective of the other person. So again, to go back means to return to a place you were just in, but from the point of view of the person who moved away. So for example, again, if I'm here and the control desk person decides suddenly to leave the studio, and I'm like, no, come back. And the control desk person decides to enter the room again, he might say, I'm going to go back into the studio. I'm going to go back into the studio. So to come back and to go back, yes, they mean to return to a place, but your perspective, your point of view is very important here. So these two are very commonly confused. So some other examples with come back and go back are, please come back to visit soon. Please come back to visit soon. And I'm gonna go back to my college. I'm gonna go back to my college. Yes. Okay, some examples. I'm looking for your examples on Facebook. Tan Tat Yong says, I will come back soon. I will come back soon. So like, I'll come back to a place you're in, maybe. Okay, I don't see any others, so let's continue on. We have 2 more in this first group. The next one, turn out. To turn out. To turn out means to end or to finish. We use this typically at like the end of an event, or when we want to talk about the way in which something finished, an event finished, a party finished, maybe like a live stream finished. So when we want to talk about how something finished, we can use turn out. For example, our event turned out. This is past tense. Our event turned out great. Our event turned out. That means our event ended great. Our event finished great. So to turn out means to end in some way, to end. Okay, and finally, very similar sounding, end up, to end up. So it might seem similar to turn out, but end up means to finally be in a situation or to finally be in a place. So we usually use end up when there's been some kind of struggle or some kind of challenge, and we tried many different things, and finally we finish in this situation or in this condition. For example, last night we ended up taking a taxi home. Last night we ended up taking a taxi home. So maybe in this situation, the speaker was out late at night with friends, or the speakers in this case, they were out late at night, and the train stopped running, or the subway stopped. So that was maybe a challenge or a struggle. They could say, last night we ended up. So it's like saying eventually, or in the end, after some struggles, we took a taxi home, or we ended up taking a taxi home. Okay, let's see. I'm looking for your examples. There are a few. Almeida says on YouTube, the party turned out great. Exactly, good. Edgard says, my birthday party turned out just fine. Perfect, very nice. Sarifman says, hello, Alicia, please come back tomorrow to teach me about English. Perfect, very nice. So digitally, come back, please come back. I cannot come back tomorrow, but please join us next week. Okay, some other examples. Kanwalit says he spent all his money and ended up with no money in the middle of the month. Perfect, very nice example. Life says they end up or they ended up loving each other. Okay, good. D. Valerin says, I ended up in the friend zone. Oh, nice example. Okay. On Facebook, Masaya, I ended the project. So we use end up when we want to talk about like something that happens after a struggle. So we follow end up, usually with some verb. This is taking in this case. We ended up taking. So we're talking about some action we eventually did. Okay, if you missed anything here, you can check the video, the recording of the video later. It's a lot today, so let's take one quick break and then we'll go to the next group of phrasal verbs. So I introduced this at the beginning of today's lesson very briefly, but as always, we have free stuff for everybody, free vocabulary PDFs. I'll go over here, yeah. I usually show the business one. Of course, I know many of you are studying for work. On the back here, you will find some expressions for meetings, which I often talk about. And these often, today's lesson, we can use some of these phrasal verbs in meetings. So this is another good one to review. Also, another time,
when you're using phrasal verbs a lot is when shopping. This says clothes, yes, but in general, when you are shopping for things, phrasal verbs come up a lot. So these are a couple of examples of situations where phrasal verbs like these are very useful. So check these out. I'll show you some more later. There are lots of topics. You can find everything from the link below the video on YouTube or above the video if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on Instagram, please check YouTube or Facebook. And sorry, I can't see your comments live. Okay, so let's continue to the next part for today's lesson. Next, we're going to look at 5 more. And if you have not, please make sure to like and share this live lesson so other learners can find today's topic. Alrighty, onward. Next group. Let's start with this one, show up. To show up is our next phrasal verb. To show up means to appear. To appear, especially when not expected. So we typically use show up for people. So it's like we're surprised to see someone and like we want to express that surprise. For example, I was surprised the CEO showed up at the meeting. So showed up is the past tense form of show up. I was surprised the CEO showed up at the meeting. Like this, we could replace showed up with appeared, or we could say came too, but showed up is like it communicates the feeling of surprise or something unexpected happening. The CEO showed up in the meeting. Oh my gosh. So show up communicates this feeling of surprise better than appear or come in this case. So we use this for people generally. Occasionally it's used for like objects, I suppose, but we'll talk about another one that we typically use for objects instead. Okay. Leah says, nice of you to show up. Great example. Nice of you to show up is like you weren't expecting someone to come. This has kind of a negative feel about it. Nice example, Leah. Okay. Let's continue on to hold up. Hold up. So to hold up has 2 different uses that I'll talk about here. First is to raise something high. So to hold, we have the simple, just the verb to hold something. Like I hold my phone, like to hold my phone. And then I could say I hold up my phone. So this one is very easy to understand, I think, to hold something up, to hold something up. But the second meaning is probably less clear. The second meaning is to cause a delay, to cause a delay. So in an example sentence, a mistake held up the project. A mistake held up the project. So held up is the past tense of hold up. A mistake caused a delay in the project. A mistake held up the project. That's what this means. So we can say caused a delay in. That's also okay. But this one is a bit shorter. It's easier to say. A mistake held up the project, or an accident held up the train. So something that caused a delay can be expressed with hold up. Hold up. Okay, I will check to see if there are any examples really quickly. Human Yonghang on Facebook says, hold up there, hold up there. That's another use of hold up, which isn't really in a sentence, but as a command, hold up can also mean wait. Wait, like hold up can also mean to wait, to wait. We'll also see this with hold on later. But yes, hold up can also mean please wait or casually to wait. So it's not really used in a sentence, just as it is. Okay, yes, many people are using the first meaning, to hold something up, like to hold up an object, okay? Tamara, I hope I said that right. The hurricane hold up the flight. Make sure the hurricane held up, past tense, yeah? The hurricane held up the flight. Caused, past tense, caused a delay in the flight. Okay, other examples. I don't see. Okay, let's continue on then. Next is check out, check out. So this one,
Again, there are two meanings I'm going to talk about in this lesson. To check out, number one, is to pay for items at a store. To pay for items at a store. So you've gone shopping, like you're at the bookstore or whatever, you've collected your items, you take them to the cash register, and you pay. So we use check out to describe that. I'm gonna check out. I would like to check out, please. That means I would like to pay for my stuff. I'm done shopping. To check out. The other meaning, though, means to look at something. So we usually use this for something new, something that is new. I want to check out a new thing. For example, let's check out that new restaurant. So I've used to look at something, but so we can use it for something new we physically look at. It can also mean like to experience, as in this case. Let's check out that new restaurant. It means like let's go and look around and try that new restaurant. So we usually use this for something new. So check that out, or let's check out this thing. To check out, to check out. Someone says check out the PDF cheat sheet now. Yeah, check it out, check out. There are lots of them. I think there are like 25 maybe. We have new ones. I don't know if I've shown all of them, but yes, please do check these out. Please do check these out. Okay. Nene on Facebook has another good example of check out. So I talked about check out at a store when you're ready to pay for something. You can also use it at a hotel when you leave the hotel, to check out of the hotel. Life says, is check out similar to confirm? No. Check out is different. To check is similar to confirm. To check, yes, I'm going to check some information. I'm going to confirm information. Yes, okay. All right, let's move on. So to move on, perfect segue. I didn't even plan that. Oh, so move on. To move on means to go to the next thing. I use this all the time. I just used this in the live lesson. So it means like to go to the next thing, usually in a list or usually in a sequence. So in this case, I have a big list of vocabulary words. I want to go to the next thing. I say, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to something. So this is the preposition we use. For example, I'm going to move on to the next part of the lesson. I'm going to move on to noun phrase. You'll hear this used in presentations. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. I'm going to move on to my next topic. This is very good for meetings and presentations. On to break down. Break down. Two things I want to talk about here. To break down means to make something smaller, For example, like if you have like a stick and you need to make it smaller, we can say to break it down, meaning to break it into smaller pieces like this kind of. So one thing becomes smaller, to break something down. But this one, the second meaning, is one we use in our lessons from time to time. To break something down can mean to explain something in detail, to give small details about something. For example, let's break down the grammar of this sentence. Let's break down the grammar of this sentence. That means let's look at the details. Let's explain in detail the small points of something. So let's break it down. Let's break this down. This is also very common in meetings, in classes, in lectures, and so on, to explain something in detail. As a question, you could say, could you please break this down for me? That means, can you please explain to me in detail? Can you please break this down? Okay, phew, let's continue on to column 3 because time's going quickly and we have lots to cover. I'm looking for your examples. But let's get to the next one. Put down. So we talked about pick up at the beginning of the lesson. To pick something up is to take something from a low place and move it to a high place. Yeah? To put down is the opposite. Put down the phone. That's what it means. So to move something from a high place or to move something you are holding to a resting position. So we pick up the phone, we put down the phone. I often hear students say pick the phone. No, we can't use pick the phone. Pick up the phone and put down the phone. This is the first meaning. The second meaning, though, is maybe a little more difficult. It means to discourage or to bully someone. So to discourage or to bully someone means to say mean things, to say rude things to someone, to make them feel bad. That's called putting someone down, to put someone down. In a sentence, don't put down your classmates. Don't put down your classmates. So that means like trying to move them to like a lower social position. You can kind of think of it as that. Okay, on to turn up. Turn up. I talked about this one, show up, earlier. We use show up for unexpected appearances a lot. Turn up has the same thing, the same feeling, but we use turn up for objects. So we use this when we're looking for something, like a marker. If I'm looking for my red marker, I can't find it, but finally I do find it. I can say, my marker. It turned up on the desk. Or in this example sentence, my keys turned up in my bathroom. So we use turn up, and it gives the listener the feeling that we were looking for something for a long time, or something was really hard for us to find, and at last we found it. Finally, we found that thing. It turned up, past tense, turned up. My marker turned up over there. So something we wanted to find. That's meaning one. Meaning two is to raise the volume of music or to raise the volume of TV. So that just means to make something louder. Turn it up. I love this song. So you can use, of course, the opposite, to turn something down, like to turn the volume of a TV or music program down too. Alrighty, onward to hold on. I mentioned hold on briefly when we talked about hold up. Hold on means to wait, to wait. So as a command, we use hold on to mean wait, yes. So you will very commonly hear people say, hold on, or hold on a minute, or hold on a moment. It means please wait. So it doesn't mean hold anything. No holding here. But part two, meaning two, you might hear in movies, in TV, especially like action movies. Meaning two is to hold something, yes, but usually for safety purposes. Usually like a character in an action movie will say, hold on to something, like before an airplane crashes, I don't know. So to hold on to something is usually used for safety reasons. For example, with a beautiful drawing, hold on to the ladder when climbing. So if this is my beautiful ladder, so when you're climbing, for safety reasons, you should hold on to the ladder. So that means like physically holding something and like continuing to hold that thing. To hold on, usually for safety reasons. Yes, many people are using the wait version of hold on. Great, great. I see lots of these. All right, onward to catch up, to catch up, to catch up. Not ketchup, the common food that we have with French fries. To catch up means to get the latest information, and it means to get to the same place as someone, like especially in a competition, like in a race. For example, let's get a coffee and catch up. Let's get a coffee and catch up. So that means let's get a coffee and share our latest news. Let's share our latest information. For meaning two, though, we might hear this in sports. So if you like to watch sports, you might hear like Team A caught up to Team B. The preposition is to there. Team A caught up to Team B. Like they were at 10 points, now they're at 15 points. They caught up to Team B. So they got to the same place as someone or another team. All right, take over is the last one for this group.
To take over means to completely control something. You might hear this in business news. So like company A took over, past tense of take is took. Company A took over company B. So company A completely has control of company B, to completely take over something, to take control of something. Now they have the power. Example, my job is taking over my life. That's not true. My job is taking over my life. But that means my job has total control over my life, to take over something, to take over something. All right, we have 5 left. Oh my gosh, we might make it in time. I'm trying to check your examples really quickly. People are using hold up. Yeah, please hold up a minute. Great job with using hold up. Yes, some people are asking about the expression broke down. Yes, to break down means to have usually a mechanical problem, to break down, or to have an emotional problem. I broke down last night. I lost my job. Some of you are asking about breakdown. There are those 2 meanings. All right, let's go to our final group for this lesson. Again, lots that use up, 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 up. First one is look up. Look up. So the easy one to understand, the easy meaning to understand here is to use your eyes and look in an upward direction. Like look up at the sky. That's easy to understand, I think. But someone mentioned it earlier in this lesson. To look up means to research something, to check information, to research something. So if I don't know a vocabulary word, I might check it. I'm going to look up the meaning of this vocabulary word. I'm going to research the vocabulary word. What does the word, what does inauguration mean? I don't know. I'm going to look up this word. It means research or to check or try to confirm something. Okay, my example here was, please look up the definition. So this is a great word for learners of languages. To look up something, it sounds a little more casual, a lot more casual actually, than research. Research sounds very heavy, very detailed. Look up is just a quick check. Okay, on to put up. Put up. Again, 2 meanings for put up. First is to tolerate. To tolerate. So to tolerate something means to stand something. Usually there's some negative thing and you try not to let it affect you. That's called tolerating something. So even if something bad happens, someone says rude things or something is unpleasant, you continue to do your best. You tolerate something. We use put up to mean this. For example, I don't put up with rude behavior. So the preposition we use is with. I don't put up with, noun phrase. I don't put up with rude behavior. That means I don't tolerate rude behavior. That's not okay for me. I don't tolerate. So put up, and in this meaning, we follow with the preposition with. I don't put up with rude behavior. Second is to decorate. To decorate, so these are very different meanings, yeah? To decorate. This physically means to put an object, to put something up high. So we use it a lot on the holidays, we want to hang lights, for example. It actually means putting something, oh, it's too heavy. Sorry, hard to see. We put an object up somewhere for the purpose of decoration. To put up, noun phrase. So no with in that case. To put up decorations. Okay. Some good examples with put up. Someone, Rahul says, I put up with pain. Yeah, so many people, if you have a medical issue, you might say, I put up with this problem all the time, or this pain is difficult for me to put up with. Yes, great example, great example. Okay, I don't see other ones. We're almost done. I hope it's okay. 3 more. 3 more are bring up. First one, bring up. This is great for business meetings. To bring up means to introduce a topic for discussion. To introduce a topic for discussion. For example, our manager brought up, past tense, our manager brought up our new product performance at the meeting. So this means our manager introduced the topic of our new
product performance at the meeting. So to bring up means to introduce someone. All right, last two, we're almost there. I'm a bit late, sorry. I'll finish quickly. Pull up, to pull up can mean to open a file on a computer. To open a file on a computer. Hey, Miguel, one of our members has joined. Hi there. So to open a file on a computer, we use pull up because it's sort of like, if you can imagine, when you open a file on your computer, it kind of goes whoosh like this. Yeah, sort of, kind of. So we use the phrasal verb pull up to refer to this. When the file comes up, appears on your screen. So to pull up. And we also use this when driving. It means to drive a short distance, to stop at a point. We use this for like fast food restaurants when we go to drive through. We might say, pull up to the window, please. So the preposition in this case is to. Pull up to the window. Pull up to the window. And one more example. Can you pull up that picture? So on your computer is what this means. Can you please pull up that picture? That's what this request is asking for. You might hear open as well, but pull up also is commonly used. Last one. Last one. Appropriately, I chose this for the last one, is shut down, to shut down. So to shut down, of course, is used for computers. To shut down means to turn off, usually a computer or other machine, other mechanical device. To shut down, to cut power to something. I need to shut down my computer, or try shutting down your computer. But we also have this very casual meaning, which is to reject. To reject. For example, I asked my boss for a raise, but she shut me down. She shut me down. That means I asked my boss for a raise, but she rejected me, or she declined. So reject or to decline as well. It can have that meaning. So to shut down can mean to be refused. But this is very casual, very casual. So we use this when we're speaking with our friends if we're rejected. Wow, so we made it, guys. We made it, everybody. We made it through 20 phrasal verbs in 35 minutes. Very close, very close. So these are 20 very, very common phrasal